Welcome to Metis IAS. So, we have been discussing the chapter of Indian Parliament from the subject Indian Polity. So far, we have discussed about what is this Parliament, what are the functions of this Parliament, then the system of governance that is being followed in India, that is parliamentary form of government, that also we have discussed. Apart from that, we also moved into the two houses of the parliament, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and discussed in detail about the functions of both. Then we moved on to certain important offices towards the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, or the important offices of the parliament, such as the speaker, deputy chairperson of Rajya Sabha, etc. Now, continuing with the trend, what we will be now dealing with is we will try to understand what is exactly happening in Indian Parliament. When is this Indian Parliament going to meet? What exactly do they do? When we say that, the legislature holds the executive accountable, how exactly is this particular thing happening? When is this Parliament going to meet? In what ways the Parliament can hold the executive accountable? All the things we are going to study in this video. And not just that, we will also go into the constitutional provisions, the daily proceedings, and the various motions and adjournments that govern the functions of the parliament, providing a very clear picture of the cornerstone of Indian democracy, that is the Indian parliament. Now, let us come to an important aspect, that is the sessions of parliament. That is the sessions of the parliament. Now, what is the session of the parliament? That is, see, we know that in a year, there are 365 days. In a year, there are 365 days. But does it mean that the Parliament of India is going to meet on all 365 days? Is this the scenario? The answer is no. The members of Parliament are not going to meet on all the 365 days in a year. Rather, there are certain times when they are going to meet. There are certain times when they are going to meet. So, we will be discussing with this sessions of the Indian Parliament. We are going to discuss about these sessions, and the sessions in the sense when this Parliament is going to meet, what are they going to do in this Parliament, etc. We are going to understand in this chapter. Now, what does the Constitution of India say? The Constitution of India in the article number 85. In which article? In the article number 85. So remember this article. This article is very important. So, what does the Constitution of India in this article say? In this article, the Constitution of India says that the power lies with the president. The power lies with whom? With the president of India to summon each house at intervals not exceeding 6 months. That is, the president of India has the power to call members of both the house to do its business or to do its functionings at intervals not exceeding 6 months. That is, between two sessions, they the gap should not be more than that of 6 months. Now, what is the meaning of this? That is, what is the meaning of this term saying that between the two sessions, the gap should not be more than 6 months? It simply means that at least, at least there should be two parliamentary sessions in a year. It states that there should be at least two parliamentary sessions in a year. Okay. Now, what do you mean by this session? This session means when the members of parliament or when the members of Lok Sabha or the members of Rajya Sabha sit together to dwell into the business of the house, dwell into the functioning of the house, or they continue their work, what actually happens is they are going to meet on the first day, then the meeting continues for certain days, then there is also a last day when they are going to meet. So the gap between the first day and the last day is what we call as one session. The gap between the last day and the first day, or the gap between the first day and the last day, is what we call as one session. So, what is going to happen in this one session? In this one session, the members of the House can introduce certain bills. There can be discussions on these bills. There can be deliberations on these bills. Certain times, the bill also gets passed in the houses, then these bills will be sent into the president for the signature. We also see certain acts being formed in these sessions. And we also see the members of the parliament asking questions to the ministers. We also see the opposition parties trying to hold the ruling party accountable. And in a negative sense, we also see a lot of disruptions, disturbances when any member of the parliament is going to speak in the parliament. So all these things is going to happen when is going to happen in a particular session. So this is what happens in a session of parliament. Now, as we discussed, the Constitution of India says there has to be at least two sessions in a year, which means that the minimum number of sessions that is going to happen in a year is two. Now, does it mean that maximum there can be only two sessions? The answer is no. Maximum there can be any number of sessions in the parliament. Maximum there can be any number of sessions in the parliament per year. Now, what is the system that Indian Parliament follows? In India, generally we have three sessions. In India, generally we have how much? Three different sessions are held annually. Now, what are these three different sessions? Session number one is what we call as the budget session. You might have seen the aspect of the finance minister reading out the budget, then certain discussions going on about the budget, then certain, like this budget will be put on to vote, certain members accepting this budget, certain members rejecting this budget, people speaking against this budget, everything that is happening inside the parliament. This is what we call as budget session. Generally, from when does this happen? Generally, this is going to happen from February till May. See, there is no fixed date as such. There is no fixed date as such. But in general, from February, that is February, March, April, and May, for the 4 months, this budget session is going to happen. So from February 1 till May 31, if this session is held, then that is what we call as one session. So we have this budget session. Then we have another session called as monsoon session. So after the May, there is no functioning of the parliament. There will be a break for 1 month. In the month of July, once again, the members of the parliament are coming back together to discuss on certain aspects and they are discussing few things. So, from the month of July till September, July, August, and September, these 3 months, the parliament is going to meet once again. Now, this 3 months is what we call as monsoon session. Now, why the word monsoon is used here? Because we know that in India, the monsoon sets from the month of June and generally it goes on till September or October. Now, since the session is held in this particular time, the session is also called as monsoon session. Now we have another session called as winter session. So there will be a break after this monsoon session once again, and once again the members of the parliament are going to convene and start deliberating on the different aspects of Indian democracy. They're going to start discussing on the bills. They're going to pass the bills. They're going to reject the bills. They're going to, pass different motions against the ruling party members or even the opposition party members. The opposition party members try to hold the mirror to the ruling party members. The opposition party members also try to provide checks and balances to the executive, etc. All these kind of things also happen once again in the year. And this time it is going to happen from the year November or from the months November to December. And this particular session is what we call as winter session. So even though the Constitution of India says that minimum there has to be two sessions in a year, but in general, how many sessions are held? In general, in Indian Parliament, three sessions are held. What are these? What are these three sessions? These three sessions are budget sessions, monsoon sessions, and winter session. Now, among these three sessions, which is the longest session that we have in Indian Parliament, and that is the budget session. Now, why this budget session is the longest session? We will try to discuss this, or we will discuss this, or we'll try to analyze this when we discuss about budget purely from Indian polity perspective in our upcoming videos. Now, now, these three sessions of the parliament, as we see, does the Constitution of India speak about specifically budget, monsoon, winter session? No. Constitution of India just say that there has to be two sessions minimum. That's all. But then we have something called as rules of procedure and conduct of business in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. It is here that we find about these three sessions. Now, what does these sessions of the parliament do? These sessions of the parliament, they serve as a forum for the people's representatives, that is the MPs of Lok Sabha and MPs of Rajya Sabha, to debate, to discuss, and to enact the laws that is going to shape India's governance and developmental aspects. India's governance and developmental aspects. Now we have understood about the constitutional mandate. We also understood that when this session is going to end. Now, who is the authority to convene this session? That is, let us assume, who is the authority who is going to decide when this session has to be held? Now, this convening authority of the session lies with the President of India. It is the President of India. That is, in Article number 85, Clause 1, it is said that the President shall summon each house of the Parliament to meet at such time and place as deemed appropriate. That is what this article says. This article says the President shall summon, that is, the President shall ask the members of the Parliament, that is both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, to meet at such time and place as deemed appropriate, which means that he is going to ask these members to come and meet in the Lok Sabha as well as in the Rajya Sabha. Now, another question is, when we say the president is going to do this, is it the discretion of the president? The answer is no. It is not the discretion of the president. Rather, the president is going to act on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Now, why the president is acting on the Council of Ministers? Because in India's parliamentary democracy, we know that the president is just the nominal head, and the real head is who? It is the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister who is acting as the real head. Now, this Prime Minister is head of this Council of Ministers. So, this Council of Ministers is going to request or is going to suggest the President of India to summon the session. Clear? So this is what, or this is how the session is convened. This is how the session is convened. Now, now Now we have understood about the three sessions of the parliament. What does the constitution say about this? And who is going to summon this session? And we also discussed what is going to happen in these sessions. That is debates, deliberations, enactment of laws, holding the legislative, holding the executive accountable by the legislature, etc. All these kind of things are going to happen in this session or in these sessions. Now let us try to slightly switch to other topic. Now, what is this other topic? The other topic is something called as the presidential address and the motion of thanks. Now, what is this presidential address and what is this motion of the session and motion of thanks? Now, we know that for every 5 years, the Lok Sabha is going to get automatically dissolved, new election is being held, and for every 5 years, a new Lok Sabha is going to come together. So whenever the new Lok Sabha is meeting, condition number one, or scenario number one, whenever the new Lok Sabha is meeting. Scenario number two, there is 5 years, right? At the beginning of the each year, at the beginning of the each year, scenario number two. So scenario number one is at the beginning of the new Lok Sabha. Scenario number two, at the beginning of each year. In these two scenarios, the president once again convenes the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together. That is, he asks the members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to come and sit together. Now, this is what we call as the joint address by the parliament. The joint address not by the parliament, the joint address by the president of India. So, as you see here, during the inaugural session of a new Lok Sabha, or the first session of each financial year. Now, what is this financial year? From April to March. The president addresses a joint sitting of both the houses of the parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now, when we say the president is addressing the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, What is the president going to tell? The president is going to outline the government's policies, the government's plans for the next years, and not just that, the government's achievements of the previous years. Now, you can ask me, why is the president going to do this? Or how is the president going to do this? In simple, this text of the presidential address is prepared by whom? It is prepared by none other than the Council of the Ministers. Prepared by none other than the Council of Ministers. Now, the president addresses the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha together. Now, after the presidential address, a motion of thanks is moved in both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Now, what is this motion? This motion is nothing but whatever the president has said. Whatever the president has said, people will discuss on this. Whether the president has said, people will discuss about its positive aspects. The ruling party will discuss about its positive aspects. The opposition party will discuss about its negative aspects, etc. Now, why are they going to discuss? Because it provides an aspect for the legislature to hold the executive accountable. Now, when this is done, when this is done, not just this motion is moved, this motion is also debated and this motion is also put to vote. That is, the people of the parliament who are present together has to put vote on their session. Now, when they vote on this presidential address, generally who will be in majority? Obviously, it is the ruling party who will be in majority. And obviously, what happens, more or less, this motion of thanks will be passed by a simple majority. Now, if it is passed, what it means? It means the parliament is approving the government's policies outlined in this presidential address. Now let us assume this motion of thanks is defeated in Lok Sabha. That is, when people vote, more number of people vote against this motion. What it means? It means that the members of the parliament does not have confidence in the government. If this is the case, then the opposition parties will sense an opportunity and will immediately move a vote of no confidence against the government. Now, what is this vote of no confidence? Simply showing that the members of parliament does not show enough confidence in this government, or the government, when this no confidence motion is moved, the government has to show its strength, saying that it has the magic number that is more than 272 members. This is a rare thing, but it is also a significant thing. This is a rare but a significant thing. Now, this is all happening in Lok Sabha. Now, who has the power to defeat the government? Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha? It is only Lok Sabha. Now, the motion of thanks will be put to vote in the Rajya Sabha also. Now, we know that in Rajya Sabha, the ruling party can have less numbers. Why? Because Rajya Sabha is the representative of the different states. There are chances that in more than 28 states, or in more than half of 28 states in India, most of the states would be ruled by the opposition parties. If that is the case, the Rajya Sabha MPs will be more from opposition parties. Then the chance of this presidential address being defeated in Rajya Sabha is very high. But if the presidential address is defeated in the Rajya Sabha, does it lead to the resignation of the Council of Ministers? No, it cannot lead to the resignation of the Council of Ministers. Now, why this will not lead to the resignation of the Council of Ministers? The answer is very simple. Rajya Sabha, being the upper house, or being the house which has people who are indirectly elected, cannot or does not have the power to defeat a government. However, it can lead to amendments to the presidential address in the Rajya Sabha, reflecting the views of the upper house. So I hope you have understood what is this presidential address and what is this motion of thanks. Now, now we spoke about the three sessions of the parliament. We spoke about the three sessions of the parliament. Now there is also something called as a special session. There is also something called as a special session. That is, what is a special session? Apart from these three sessions, if there is a very significant things, if there is a very significant thing that is happening during the break of the parliament, during the break of the parliament, then then what happens? then what happens is that the parliament can also meet in a special manner. The parliament can also meet in a special manner to discuss only that particular thing, to discuss only that particular thing. So this is what we call as the special session. Now, did we have any special session recently? Yes. In the month of September from 18 to 22, there was a special session that was convened by whom? By the President of India, a special session of Parliament. Now, as you see, it was only convened for 5 days: September 18, September 19, September 20, September 21, and September 22. Now, who convened it? The President convened it on the advice of the Council of Ministers. And it was said that this was to discuss important matters. Important matter. However, in this special session, there will be no question hour, no zero hour, and no private member business that is going to happen. Now, what is this question hour? What is this zero hour, etc.? We'll be dealing as we move forward. As we move forward. Now, the question is this special session found in the Constitution? No, the Constitution does not mention the term special session. The term does not, the Constitution does not mention the term special session. Now, in the year 1977, for the extension of the president's rule in Tamil Nadu and Nagaland, there was a special session of Rajya Sabha held. Similarly, in the year 1991, another 2 day special session was also held for the approval of the president's rule in Haryana. In Haryana. Now, also in the year 2017, it was for the first time that a bill was initiated in this special session. Now, can you all recall what was this bill? This was a landmark GST bill. Yes, the same GST bill which brought amendments to the Constitution of India was introduced through a special session also. Similarly, recently also there was a special session that was held in the year 2023. Now, can you all guess what was this recent special session was about? This recent special session was mainly about another very important or landmark bill that was introduced as an amendment to the Constitution. What was this? This was about the Women's Reservation Bill, also known as the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam 2023. Now, what did this Constitutional Amendment Act do? This gave 33% reservation for women in the parliament, that is in Lok Sabha, as well as the state legislative assemblies. So this is an extra constitutional measure, that is a special session. Now, now we know that the important aspect or the core aspect of the parliamentary form of governance that is practiced in India is that the parliament or the legislature can hold the executive accountable, right? Now the question is, how are they going to hold the executive accountable? Through what means or through what measures? We have different means or different measures. The first important thing is what we call as the question hour. Now, now we know that there are different sessions of the parliament. There is a monsoon session, budget session. There is also a winter session. Let us take the example of a winter session that is from November to December, from November 1 till December 31. Now, let us assume on November 31, sorry, on November 1, the parliament is going to meet. The parliament or the Lok Sabha is going to meet. Or every day the Lok Sabha is going to meet. Now, the first hour of the every day of the meeting of this parliament is dedicated to asking the questions. Asking the questions by whom? By the members of parliament from both ruling party and opposition parties. And asking the questions to whom? Asking the questions to the ministers. So the first hour of every parliamentary sitting is dedicated to asking questions, and this is what we call as the question hour. Now, what do they do here? It is the crucial period for the members to ask questions to the ministers regarding the governmental activities. What fund was utilized for what purpose? What did the government do on this particular aspect? What is the answer that the government is going to do. Why did the government did not do this particular thing, etc. All these kind of things will be done in this question hour. Now, among these questions, there are three types of questions. There are three types of questions. The first type of question is starred questions. Now, what are these starred questions? Whenever a starred question is asked, that is a question with a star mark on it, the question with this kind of star mark on it. Whenever a starred question is asked, the ministers has to give a oral answer. The minister has to give oral answer. That is, they have to give the answer orally. Now, when they give a oral answer, can there be a supplementary question from the members? Yes. When they give oral answers, there can be a supplementary question from the members. So this is what we call as starred question. Now, then there is something called as unstarred question. That is in the question that is asked. There is no star mark that is present. If this is the case, when this is the case, the answers that are received by the people who has asked the question are written answers. They are what? They are written answers. That is, the answers are given in a written format. Now, when the answers are given in written format, there is no opportunity for the supplementary questions. When the answers are asked in the written format, there is no question or there is no opportunity for the supplementary questions. There is no opportunity for the supplementary questions. So this is what happens when there is an undischarged or unstarred question is asked. I hope you have understood the difference between starred and unstarred question. That is, when a starred question is asked, what kind of answer is expected? The answer that is expected is oral answer. When the oral answer is given, can there be an opportunity for supplementary questions? Yes. What is unstarred question? When unstarred question is asked, the answer that is expected will be in the form of written answers. When the answers are given in the written answers, can there be supplementary questions? No, there cannot be supplementary questions. Now, there are another type of questions, that is short duration questions. Now, what is the difference between this start and start on one side and the short duration question is that, see, it is not that suddenly one member is going to ask the question and the minister is going to answer, because the minister will not have all the data by heart, or they will not have memorized all these data, right? So before certain time itself, these members has to give these questions to the ministers, and the ministers has to prepare answers for those, and they will have to present it in the parliament. Now, let us assume there is a matter of urgent public importance. Urgent public importance. In that case, within less than 10 days notice, a question can be asked. To whom? To the ministers. Now, what it also means? It also means that for answers to the starred questions and unstarred questions, at least 10 days has to be given to the ministers to find out answers for those. But in case of the short duration questions, there is no requirement of giving the notice before 10 days itself. So these are the three type of questions that are asked in this question hour. Now the question is this question hour mentioned in the Constitution of India? Is this question hour mentioned in the Constitution of India? And the answer for this is no. This question hour is not mentioned in the Constitution of India, but it is mentioned in the rules of business as well as the procedure of the parliament. So this is about the question hour. Now let us come to the second type of the parliamentary control. The second type of parliamentary control over the executive. Now what is the second type of the parliamentary control? This is nothing but 0 hour. This is nothing but 0 hour. Now we discuss that. Let us assume at morning 9 o'clock, the members of parliament are coming together. They are meeting. There will also be a speaker to look after the entire proceedings that is going to happen in the Lok Sabha. From 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, what happens? There will be a question hour. Once the question hour is done, then what happens? Then, after some time, the agenda of the house is going to get started. Now, what is this agenda of the house? Let us assume if there is any bill that has to be introduced, if there is any debate that is going on, etc. So, let us assume from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, there is this question hour. From 10:30 onwards, the agenda of the house is going to start. Now, there is a small break from 10 o'clock to 10:30. Now, this break is what we call as the 0 hour. This break is what we call as 0 hour. Now, what happens in this break or what happens in this 0 hour is that in this 0 hour, the members of the parliament raise matters of urgent public importance without any notice to the ministers. That is, without giving any notice, the members of the parliament can raise questions to whom? To the ministers during this 0 hour. Clear? I hope this is very clear. Now let us try to understand the difference between question hour and 0 hour. What happens in question hour? The very first hour of the sitting of the parliament of each day is what we call as question hour. So what happens in this question hour? In this question hour, the members of the parliament ask questions to the ministers. But when we say this, do they ask questions on spot? No. They would have given a notice to the ministers before 10 days, before 15 days, before 20 days, or in the short duration questions, at least within the last 10 days, that they are going to ask these and these questions. Okay, so this is what happens in question hour. And the minister is required to answer for these questions. But what happens in 0 hour? What happens in 0 hour is that once the question hour is ended and the time between this end of question hour and the start of the agenda of the house. In this break, if there is any matter of urgent public importance, the members of the parliament can ask questions to the ministers without giving any prior notice. So this is what we call as 0 hour. Now, question hour is not found in the Constitution of India. Is the term 0 hour found in the Constitution of India? No. It is also not found in the Constitution of India. But question hour is at least found in the rules of business and the procedure of parliament. But the 0 hour is not mentioned in any formal rules. It is not mentioned anywhere. It is not mentioned in the constitution. It is not mentioned in the rules of business. It is also not mentioned in the procedure of the parliament. So this is a very unique thing that is available to the Indian parliamentary democracy. So this is something that is setting Indian parliament apart from the other parliaments that are present in the world. So both these question hours and 0 hours. They serve as vital instruments for parliamentary oversight. That is, holding the executive accountable by the legislature. And these also enable the members to hold the executive accountable and highlight the issues of the public interest.